This is LXBN TV, and I'm Colin O'Keefe. Last week, Rutgers student Dharun Ravi was convicted on 15 counts and faces up to a decade in prison for using a webcam to spy on his roommate Tyler Clementi, who was engaged in a homosexual encounter with another male. Tragically, Clementi committed suicide shortly thereafter. To discuss the case, we bring in Travis Crabtree, attorney with Looper Reed and McGraw, and author on the excellent eMedia Law Insider. Travis, first off, why do you believe this case was so important and received the level of attention that it did?
From the legal perspective, it's important because New Jersey is one of the first states to enact a law, a criminal invasion of privacy law, specifically dealing with taking video of sexual acts without somebody else's permission. Now, obviously, that wasn't, when the law was passed, they didn't envision this type of scenario. It was more towards what people refer to as sex tapes. People taking videos without the permission of somebody involved in that act and then displaying those videos. And so the reason legally it's important is this is really one of the first trials of a criminal invasion of privacy. There's always been the civil tort invasion of privacy. So legally, from that perspective, it's important. It's also interesting because this wasn't a sex tape per se that we think of in the traditional sense, where one person who's actually engaging in the act is the one videotaping with the other person not. And it was just a kind of a twist on that. From the general mass media perspective, it garnered a lot of interest because it sort of highlighted online bullying, which has gotten a lot of attention. You had Twitter involved, you had secret webcams, and plus just the facts that the way they were, it caused a lot of attention because immediately after the suicide, the focus wasn't on should there be a criminal prosecution. The focus is on what do we need to do to stop online bullying. And so that's sort of where it first got the attention. And then once the legal case started coming into effect, there was a lot of attention on that. And the discovery, the way it played out, showed all of the individuals involved, their texts, their Twitter messages, their tweets. And so it kind of put it all out there. Their whole digital footprint was out there for the world to see.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so interesting nowadays is that when anything happens, I was watching even something on the scandal of Tiger Woods last time, but any crime nowadays, there's such a digital trail behind everything that happens. And you touched on this a bit, but what role did social media play in this case in particular?
Yeah, this is one of those cases where there may not have been a criminal prosecution had it simply been one incident where somebody videotaped this and then it went away. Instead, what happened was the defendant that was found guilty posted something on Twitter about the first incident, and then when he thought it was going to happen again, he said, "Everybody join my iChat because it might happen again." And so once he did that, it took it beyond the realm of the fine line in this case was this a stupid college prank or was this a criminal conduct? And once he made it permanent and once he published it to the world, it kind of crossed that line into being some of the pranks that I may have pulled when I was in college. Thankfully there wasn't digital footprints back then because, of course, I made some mistakes back then. But now with the digital footprint and social media being involved, it's there for the world to see, and it's also, that's good and bad. It's good because you can share everything. It's bad because there's a trail of evidence. And one of the other interesting aspects is the defendant tried to get rid of some of those digital footprints. And computer forensics these days are just too good to really do that. Unless you're a computer forensic guy yourself, it's very hard to erase that digital footprint.
Yeah, I mean, we were even amongst our editorial team on LXBM, we were kicking around, is this a traditional college prank? Is it political correctness gone too far? But it's just with that digital trail and with that follow-up and the social media aspect, it just becomes, a whole different type of, the whole atmosphere and the whole thing changes. I've seen a lot of different opinions, on this, but what do you think we can learn from this case going forward?
What I think we can learn is, there are ramifications for what you do online. Yes, it is a close case, and in fact, the defense argued, this was a stupid college prank. This was not criminal conduct. My kids are 7 years old and 5 years old, so they don't know anything about this case now. But when they go off to college, I may pull this interview you and I are having up, and so I can show my kids, I know it's fun, it's in the moment, but when you do stuff online, whether it be Facebook, whether it be a prank, whether it be those pictures that you take on spring break. That can last forever, and it can have not only criminal ramifications, but it can have ramifications for trying to find a job or get scholarships. There's an article the other day in the newspaper talking about how scholarship committees are going online to look at profiles of people. And so that's what can be learned. And the debate will continue as to whether or not this was appropriate to criminally prosecute this young man. But hopefully people will take this and use this to remember that there are ramifications.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, even with like you said, with these interviews, even though they're purely professional, I even think it's weird that they'll be online probably 30, 40 years from now. It's just odd to think about that they'll still be out there. So it's interesting, and this has been such an interesting case to watch, and we'll see what ramifications it has going forward, both from a criminal perspective and from a media and online social media perspective. So it'll be fun to watch, interesting to watch. Once again, that was Travis Crabtree of Looper Reed McGraw and the eMedia Law Insider. For more on this case, be sure to check out Travis's post. It's at emedialaw.com, and we just put up a roundtable on LXBN, so be sure to check that out at lxbn.lexblog.com. Thanks, Travis.
You bet.